Hi, Monaco64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Just starting the live stream. We're going to talk about what's happening in Italy and the markets. And you can ask as many questions as you'd like. And hopefully I'll be able to answer them. We're just closing here in the US. We've got about a minute left till the close. The Dow is up 1.37%. It's up 330 points. So it's gained back almost all the losses it made yesterday. Gold and silver have done well today. Silver especially is up 1% at 1651. Gold is above 1300, 1302. The euro has rebounded quite a bit. It's up 1%. Hi, Jeff Logue. Horror breakdown. Hello. What a shambles. Hello. What a shambles. Hi, Jane Reynolds. Hi, James Fisher. So Billy's here today. You'll probably fall asleep though. So let's just wait and see here what the markets do here. We're right on the close. We got about 10 seconds to go. So the Dow's going to finish just over 300 points. So it gained, yesterday it closed down over 400. So there we go. We're just closed. Gold and silver had a good day. Currency-wise, the euro is rebounded. It's up 1% today. The dollar is still fairly weak against the yen. So let's see who's here. David Johnson. Hi, David. Thanks. I hope I can help you guys and answer questions about what's happening in Italy. Silver Granny. Hello, Mario. Hi, Silver Granny. James Carmand. Hello. Hi, James. So, yeah, that's good. 67 of you have shown up already. One thing I would say about Italy to start off, and I worked with Italy and the Italian markets for many years, is that the politics in Italy is like a real mess. And I think we haven't seen the last of the crisis yet. Today, Italian markets rebounded. The stock market, I think, was up 2% in Italy. The spread, the BTP Bund spread, narrowed down to 250. Yesterday, it jumped above 300. So the Italian 10-year yield is now back below 3%. It's at 292. Still quite elevated compared to where we were Monday morning. And the Bund yield, the German yield, that had dropped to like 20 yesterday, basis points. And now it's 37. So that's also a sign that people are a little more comfortable about Italy. So let's see who else is here. Mirek Merkovitz, hello. Hi, Mirek. Crypto Bird Dog, you're welcome, Crypto Bird Dog. The CDF asking, hi, sir, how's the golf weather? Well, it was nice today. I only played 9 holes in the evening, but it's really nice weather in the UK. And there's no wind, so I didn't play that well, but the weather was good for golf. Hitava Bamingo. Hi, Mario from Kokomo, Indiana. Oh, nice to see you here from Indiana. Jeff Logue, they won't crash the market until a weekend. Cheetah, hello from California. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I didn't doing the live stream. You know, it's fairly late for me, 9 o'clock, but it also helps people on the West Coast in the US. Don't want to do it too early here. People are not ready for it. Hi, Mr. M. That's from Ben Furthy. Hi, Mr. M. The ECB will just buy Italian and Spanish bonds, and the yield will be suppressed. There's no crisis. Maybe, even though there's a comment today, apparently from Mario Draghi, saying that he's not concerned about the crisis. Maybe it's a bluff. The thing is that they've already been buying. a lot of the sovereign bonds, with the QE. I think they're doing still 60 to 80 billion a month, and that hasn't helped. And the politics will be very important, because if these populists get in power, then it could throw all the spanner, it could be change things. And one thing that I saw that's really interesting is a story from Zero Hedge that came out this afternoon from our friends at Goldman. Of course, I'm being sarcastic, but it says Goldman admits it has no idea what happens next in Italy. So, by the way, I'd like to thank John Corner and Jane Reynolds for the donations. That's great. I appreciate it. Jane Reynolds is asking, are the Italian banks exposed to the Turkish debacle? Not so much, maybe a bit, but the problem with the Italian, it's not just the Italian banks that have problems, but Deutsche Bank would have problems. The French banks would have a lot of problems because they've lent so much money to Italy as well. The Italian banks, but they're already in trouble because they have non-performing loan. 15% of their balance assets or loans are non-performing, and that's really high in Italy. And it probably might get worse if the crisis gets worse. Leonard Breitling, hello, Mario from California. Hi, Leonard. Nice to see you again. I also like to, don't know if there's any of you guys who follow Data Dash. Data Dash, he analyzes markets, more the crypto markets, and he's got a big following, and he suggested one of my videos yesterday, and I got a lot of new subscribers because of that. So I like to thank Data Dash, and I like to also tell people that they should, if they haven't listened to Data Dash and they're interested not only in markets, traditional markets, but in cryptos. He's really good analyst, I think. I recommend him, Data Dash. Thank you, John McEwen, for the donation as well. Leonard Breitling, Mario, does Italy start the domino effect? It could definitely do so, Leonard. The only thing we have to keep in mind is that they're going to fight tooth and nail to not allow that to happen, especially the Italian establishments. So, but if it gets worse, yeah, it will definitely be the first domino to drop. And I think it's even just the tip of the iceberg, because it would bring down, it could bring down the whole system, the whole financial system, the dollar, everything. There's that Economist front page from 1988 that said we'd be getting a new currency in 2018. People know that the Economist is owned by the Rothschilds. Could this be their plan? The euro, the single currency, a way to bring, because it was being planned already by then, the single currency in Europe. And maybe they knew all along that if they got people, suckered people in to buy all this pigs debt, and pigs means Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, and Spain. Make people believe that the debt of Italy and Spain and Portugal is just as good as Germany, and create a huge bubble, and then bring the system down. We could be, this could be it. It could start in Italy. So definitely. Am I saying it's going to happen? I don't know. It's really difficult to guess. Adam Rodriguez, yes, I'm one of Data Dash sub. Yeah, thank you, Adam Rodriguez. Hi, Timmy Chonga, how are you doing? Crypto Bird Dog sub, yeah. Anonymous up. Truth, Money, and Freedom. Hey, Monaco, very happy to catch another live stream. Oh, I'm glad you could make it. Let's see. Anonymous, The Economist sucks. Yeah, Anonymous, even before I woke up, about, 18 years ago, to what the system really was, Before that, I used to buy The Economist once in a while, but I never really liked it. It's really boring. You read just a few stories, but the rest is like mumbo jumbo, in my opinion. G. Graham, hello from Shasta. Hi, G. Graham. If Italy goes, who's next? Well, it will be Spain. It will be everyone really quickly. Um, the problem is, I don't know if you guys seen, there's a video from about 6, 7 years ago, two Australian comedians, and they talk about the Italian, sovereign debt crisis in Europe. And the problem is that all these countries have lent money to each other. So if Italy, they could cope with Greece, but with Italy, they won't be able to cope. It will be the beginning of the end for the fiat money system. That's my opinion. Pad, based on what we have learned about cryptocurrencies being written about some 20 years ago by the CIA, I do not think that our currency will be crypto. Well, what do you mean by our new currency? I mean, my currency is gold and silver, so I don't really care what currency they bring. I will use it because I'll probably need it, but my currency will always be gold and silver. I don't care. There could be, cryptos could compete. I don't know what will happen, because this next crisis will be so devastating that people are going to I think, lose confidence in the central banks. I mean, you and I already, I had lost confidence in central banks years ago. And but when everyone does, it will be difficult for them to, bring something back. CDF RM2, Mara, do you have your EOS tokens registered? Yeah, I surely do. They are all registered, and I've checked on EOS Countdown. You can put your Ethereum address, and it tells you if you're registered, and I'm all good. And I've actually just sent some ETH for this period. It's the 348th period out of 350. So I'm actually going to claim some more EOS tokens tomorrow. And I might even do it the next couple of days, just before the mainnet at the end of June 1st. Aaron Schnacky, Hyman Echo, do you think US interest rates are more likely to go to 3% or negative? Well, right now, the 10-year yield yesterday dropped quite a bit because of what's happening in Italy. I think it got down to 275. Today's back up to 284. That's the 10-year yield. But yeah, if there is a huge crisis and the Fed, they would have room now to cut. And historically, in 2003, Greenspan cut it down to, I think it was 1% or 1.5%, I'm not sure. And then in 2008-9 crisis, it was cut to 0 to 0.25. So yeah, the next crisis, they could bring the short-term interest rates to 0 or even negative. But that would people would lose confidence in the dollar if they did that. Don't forget, the dollar is the reserve currency. Maybe that's why they have been raising interest rates. Matthias Hartman, hello from Czech Republic. Hi, Matthias. Pad, Spain has been there. It's been here the last time Italy was at this so-called tipping point. Yeah, Spain would be involved as well. Dontro on Shabos, Mario, your opinion on Martin Armstrong? Yeah, I used to prefer reading his stuff when he was still in jail, before he was freed from jail. After that, I don't really. He's become too mainstream for me. But yeah, he's got some good points. So his view is that we're in a cycle where governments are going to lose their power and the private sector is going to have more power. And he could be right, especially if there's a sovereign debt crisis and all government debt implodes. And I actually think that could be a good thing, less government. and he could be right about that. Dan Kurth, your opinion about Deutsche Bank affected by Italian downfall? Well, Deutsche Bank, yeah, it's being affected more recently, but it will not only be Deutsche Bank that will be affected by an Italian downfall. It will be all the banks in the world. Believe me, it's not just Deutsche Bank. So that's I'm trying to say. Don't focus too much on Deutsche Bank. Focus on all the banks now. Let's see. Martian caution. Is EOS token a stock in EOS company, or is it just a token used to pay? Yeah, it's a utility token. It's not a share of a company. John McEwen, it just powers the platform. It's like Steam, powering Steam it. John McEwen, do you think that after the crisis, the wealth transfer will land at the feet of gold and silver as currency again? I certainly hope so, John, and that's why I've put quite a bit of my money where my mouth is. That's what I expect. It's been a long wait, but I think eventually it will happen. I was listening to Data Dash today, and he brought up a really interesting chart, which I had seen before. It's the GSCI, which is the Goldman Sachs Commodity Index, versus S&P 500 ratio. And we are at levels we haven't seen for 50 years. So we're at, the commodities are the most undervalued against the S&P 500 in more than 50 years. So I think, the next crisis will definitely be a transfer of wealth from financial assets to hard assets. And the premier hard assets, liquid hard assets, are gold and silver, in my opinion. Let's see here. Anonymous, what is going on in Brazil? Well, the same thing, that's going on with the emerging markets. Commodities are still very low. A lot of these countries depend on commodities, and the cost of financing for their Brazilian companies going up because the dollar is going up. Crude oil is going up, even though it's a commodity, and that's hurting also consumption. Yeah, and that's what's happening. Jonathan Mountford, do you think the central banks are simply naive, thinking this whole charade can go on, or more malevolent, orchestrating this all by design and keeping everybody in the dark? It's a difficult one to say. I personally think the very top people know about this, how malevolent it is, but some of the, more some of the people that work in central banks, not the president or the top, just the normal functionaries of central banks. I don't think they're so compartmentalized that they don't realize. So they just keep going. It's weird. Sam B, is NSA white paper on cryptos 1966 a sign that central bankers created them? I don't know. I don't think so. Do you really think central bankers would want a decentralized system? I don't think so. I think it could be a fallback for the elite. When central banks, disappear, that there's something out there, and that could be cryptocurrencies. But that would be a market decentralized system. What better way to go from a totally centralized system to a completely decentralized system? Because if there is a crisis, people will be sick and tired of central banks. But does that mean that cryptos and the decentralized system will be bad? Not necessarily. Pat, the new world order global currency will only be successful if they destroy gold and silver. They could do that by stating that there is many times more gold than we currently believe. It would be a lie. Of course it would be a lie. I don't think there's a way to destroy gold and silver. It's never been done. They've tried it before. Even Milton Friedman thought when Nixon closed the gold window and the monetary system on a floating rate, floating exchange rate system. He thought gold would completely disappear, from demand, and that it would go down to near zero. He was completely wrong, and that was Milton Friedman. Let's see here. Some more. Luis Cuevas, hi Monaco, nice to see you again. Quick question: do you think there will be a quick recovery before we enter hyperinflation and the end of the dollar? No, I don't think. I think we had some GDP data from the U.S. today. It was a little lower than expected. Usually, hyperinflation happens when the economies are not doing well. Look at Venezuela. It's never when an economy is doing well. John Rivinius, over in the USA, the media downplays the seriousness of the Italian crisis. Is the media exposing this over in Europe? Well, the Italian media have followed, yeah, they are covering it. And I haven't really followed too much the mainstream media here. I only look at the numbers. What I saw yesterday was worrying. The Italian government, the 10-year yield spiked from 280 to 340 in a matter of hours. So I don't think all is well. I wouldn't I wouldn't listen to the US media. I wouldn't listen to the UK media. The only reason I went to, I looked at some Italian newspapers to see what's going on. They seem, there are headlines there in the Italian paper saying about the possibility of Italy leaving the euro even. So I think it's more serious than people think. Italian mob should run the government. Probably. It would probably be run better. Eki Rash, do you think that the banksters will be just fine after the collapse? Business as usual for them after the transition? Yeah, probably, but their business model will be completely destroyed, I think. But in terms of individually, people like Jamie Dimon and Lloyd Blankfein and the central bankers, they'll be fine, because they know how to protect their wealth. Even, I'm sure they have a lot of gold. They've got a lot of land, so they'll be okay. But banking, as we know today, I think it could be changed completely. Timmy Chonga, let's show Maneko some love. Give him thumbs up if you appreciate him. Oh, thanks, Timmy Chonga. Chung Chen, I love government and bankers. They're so lovely. I guess you're being sarcastic there, Chung. Randall McMurphy, I can't wait to see a bank crisis meltdown. It's the same here, Randall. Not because I wish people bad, but it's just that we need to see the system. Really, it doesn't deserve to survive. It's only around because they did everything to save it after 08. Pat Martin Armstrong is now just a mouthpiece to drive some new old order agenda. He's flipped. I agree. Richard McCorkindale, how goes Deutsche Bank, so goes Europe. Yeah, probably. One thing a lot of people don't realize, one of the reasons Deutsche Bank is in so much trouble is because they took over Bankers Trust, which was a U.S. Investment bank, like Goldman Sachs and Lehman. And Bankers Trust was heavily into derivatives, and they were going to collapse. And Deutsche Bank came in and bought them and took all their rubbish derivatives back in the late 90s, I think. So I think it was 99. So that's one of the reasons why Deutsche Bank is in trouble. It's actually because of Bankers Trust. I don't know if any of you remember Bankers Trust. Hi, Mario. What do you think about weed stock like CRON and CGC? To be honest, I haven't really looked at those. Manuel Moraes, Italy and Spain in turmoil. Greece dead, Portugal very fragile. What can Germany do? Would the Anglo-Saxon axis get their revenge on EU? I don't know if it's anything about revenge, because If the EU goes, so will the UK, so will the US. It doesn't really matter. I think the problem with the EU, with the UK, and with the US is we've got too much debt. We can't go on like this. The only way to keep going with all this debt is to create even more debt, is to crowd out the private sector. What does that mean? Less jobs for younger people, less growth, more government. I would think it would be great for everything to implode, but it wouldn't only be the EU. The Anglo-Saxons would get hurt too. Patrick, thank you for the donation. If any of you don't know, I've got Super Chat. So if you like to donate during the chat, you can. Let's have a look. Richard McCorkindale, if central bankers had a hand in cryptos, they would vocally oppose them to keep people thinking they had nothing to do with it. Well, I already think the mainstream is already probably discouraging a lot of people from cryptos. But one thing that's interesting, Data Dash was talking about this today, is that they're seriously thinking of bringing a Bitcoin ETF. And he actually made a good analysis that when they brought the gold ETF in around 2004, it led to a big move up in gold. So not that I'm sympathetic to ETFs. Leonard Breitling, Mario, do you think any high-ranking officials will go to prison for all the market fixing? Maybe, if we have a total meltdown, someone will have to answer questions, but it might not be for market fixing. It could be for other things. It would be nice to see that, but it's difficult to prove in our legal system that we have. Chung Chen, how long till UK goes down, Mario? Well, I think the UK is in trouble. We got a lot of debt as well. The only thing that is probably helping the UK in the last few months is the fact that the pound's dropped so much. You look at the FTSE, about 6 weeks ago, it was like almost breaking down. Then the pound turned around and went down, and the FTSE is now up. UK is a debt junkie, so it's difficult to say when, but it will be part of the domino game if Italy comes down. Luder 92. What do you think of Jagit Chadha? I think he's brilliant. Sorry, Luder 92. I haven't heard of I don't know who that is. Adam Blanche. Would a larger economy be able to do what Iceland did and be sustainable in the long run? Of course it would. I mean, capitalism, free markets, is like nature, like a forest. Sometimes when a forest burns, it comes back even, an old forest burns, it comes back even better. So it's called creative destruction. It's one of the theories by Joseph Schumpeter, one of the Austrian school proponents. We need creative destruction. The problem is that politicians, they want to get reelected, and so they want to buy votes. So if we have a crisis like that, nobody has any money and they have to rebuild. It's not popular with politicians or their electors. But it's been going on for too long now, and it needs to change, and it's not sustainable. You, Sinclair, to what extent do you think the ECB will keep supporting Italy? Well, it depends on the politics. If Italy gets a very Eurosceptic government, the ECB might not support Italy. On the other hand, if they get a technocratic government, and then they're able to somehow lose a bit of their power, the populace, in the next election, then the ECB might be a bit more susceptible to helping. So it would depend on the politics, I guess. Will Dixon, do you think the bankers have now got control of Bitcoin? I don't, Will. I don't think they do. I think Bitcoin is just going through a bit of a consolidation, and I think it will go higher eventually. Matthias Hartman, what can be more easily confiscated, metals or crypto? I would say crypto nowadays because it's electronic. Metals is physical, and you could hide it in a good place. It would be difficult for them to find, even though, if you go to a dealer, bullion dealer, and they buy a certain amount, they take your name down. So the thing to do is to try to stay under the radar. Cryptos, I don't know. I guess if you have your wallet and you don't keep it in an exchange, it's very difficult to confiscate as well. The way, I guess, to confiscate things right now is to scare people off those assets. How do you do that? You manipulate those markets, and that's why they haven't had that much problems with gold and silver, because they've manipulated it for so long. It's put people off. Uh, Tyler Woods. I almost thought that was Tiger Woods. Sorry, Tyler. Could you please tell us why the value of the euro will most likely go down? Actually, if you think about it, if, let's say, Italy left the euro, and there would be a crisis, of course, but it could actually help the euro. And why is that? Well, because that would mean uh, the debt junkie Italy would be out of that currency. It would probably even help the euro, because that would make it even a stronger currency, because it's got one deadbeat out of the way. So to those people, maybe the euro as it is now will not be around, but it will still exist. You could have a euro where you've got Germany, France, and the Netherlands and Belgium, the Benelux countries, and none of the pigs, and the euro would be a really strong currency. So it's not really obvious that it would bring it down. I noticed yesterday that when the euro was dropping a lot, the dollar was dropping a lot as well against the yen. So let's see here. DMC, are you witnessing the slow, painful collapse of the EU in front of our eyes without really realizing? I hope so. Love Europe, hate the EU. Yeah, I mean, the idea of the EU is not bad, but it's become too political. I think if we just stop to free movement of people, that was fine. No visas necessary, but yeah, it's become too politicized. I agree. I like Europe. I think unfortunately, the EU is. But the same thing with the U.S. I like the different states, but I don't like the federal government. It's the same thing. The U.S. is in the U.S. It's been easier to keep things going because uh, the Treasury can print money, and it doesn't matter what state you're in. But in the EU is a bit more difficult because the countries still have quite a bit of power and sovereignty. Leonard Brightling, Mario, do you think any high-ranking politicians will be imprisoned in the near future? Maybe in China and in Spain. I heard that they're arresting corrupt politicians, but in the UK, it's very highly unlikely. In the US as well, highly unlikely. Because the problem with that is that I think the politicians are also corrupt, that none of them want to punish the other, because if they do that, they themselves would be liable to be put in jail. So they all keep each other out of jail. It's amazing. Sporting science, in your opinion, what? Sorry, let's see here. Where's the question? Sorry, Sporting Science, I lost your question here. Oh yeah, in your opinion, what level does LIBOR have to be set the warning bells? It has been climbing steadily for a while now. Well, if it starts moving above, the 10-year yield, the longer term rates, because LIBOR, don't forget, is basically a short term borrowing rate, and all that means is that banks are losing confidence amongst each other. So that's all the LIBOR is. Silver Mountain, long golden popcorn. Yeah, it's getting really interesting. Get your popcorn and watch the crisis unfold, or get your antipasta to watch the Italian crisis unfold, or tapas for the Spanish. Um, let's see. Yvonne Nutter. Hi, Yvonne. Late again. Don't worry, Yvonne. I'm still here for a while, so you can ask any question you want. Heath C. UK citizens have guns. I think they, yeah, it's very, how can I say, uh, controlled here. I think in the 60s, you have to register. It's very regulated. So no, there is no Second Amendment in the UK anymore. I think it used to be in the 60s. Norm Kid, does the yield curve have to invert before a crash, or is it this time different? It has inverted all 9 times since 1955. Uh, it could be different because they've screwed around so much. By they, I mean the central banks. They've manipulated the yield curve. They've not only done it through QE, but if you remember, they did something called Operation Twist to actually flatten the yield curve. So yeah, I think things could go off without the yield curve inverting. Max 77. When will the crypto sell-off be over? I don't know, but yeah, I said a few months ago it usually takes longer for these things to work themselves out, but difficult to say. Eki Rashi, what's the country to be when the SHTF or not to be? I think people to put too much importance in that. You just need to be prepared yourself. It doesn't matter where you are, really. I think, but I guess one place that would be, I would be more concerned when things like that did hit the fan would be the US. And I'm not trying to scare the American viewers. But why do I say that? Well, because America has been very spoiled for the last 75, 80 years. Things have been very, very stable over there. While in Italy and other countries, or Brazil, or even the UK, we've had a lot of crisis. So, yeah, but all the Americans need to know is that if things get bad, it'll come back. It's just cycles. Chris Bell and Teresa. Okay. Eki Rash, is the ECB de facto a private bank like the Fed? Uh, I guess it's like a hybrid. Yeah, it's supposedly publicly owned, but it's influenced by the private banks. They have a lot of say in it, privately controlled, I would say. Hi there, Maestro Way. How are you doing? Nice to see you here. Yeah, for those of you who think you're late, it's fine. You can ask me questions. I'm going to be on for a while more, so no worries. Ranko Maximovich, what do you think about Swiss franc in all this chaos? Yeah, I mean, I was talking. One of my friends that I used to work with in the city, he's still there. He called me today. He was at work, and the 10-year Swiss yield is negative right now. So yeah, there will be a rush. Switzerland is a stable country, even though the Swiss National Bank has acted like a drunken sailor lately. Switzerland is always stable. They have a, a reputation of protecting property rights in Switzerland. They don't have a capital gains tax, and it's very stable. But yeah, I mean, you could have Swiss francs, but you'd probably have to go to Switzerland to get some. Timmy Chong, America's ground zero for financial collapse. We have the world reserve currency. You're right, Timmy Chonga. All these crises we're seeing right now brewing. This is just the periphery, but the eye of the hurricane is the U.S. Boss Grant, do you see the U.S. defaulting on its debts in the next 10 years? They've already been defaulting, and how do you do that? By debasing the currency. The dollar is going to be worth a lot. They might not default in that they might not pay. They will always pay, like Alan Greenspan said. We don't have to default. We can always print the money to pay it. But the factor that's defaulting because the purchasing power of the money drops and drops. Uh, Leland Wilkins, will the pound decrease versus the dollar next 5, 10, 15 years? Difficult to say, 10, 15 years ahead. One thing I'm sure is the pound and the dollar will decrease against gold. So yeah, but the pound in 1981 or two, I think, went almost down to one against the dollar. I think it was 105, and then back in 2007 it went up to 210, and now we're back to 133. So we could go down to one maybe in 2, 3 years, and then in 5 years it could go back to 150. But by then gold is at $10,000, so it's all relative. Uh, Thank you, Yvonne Nutter, for the donation on Super Chat. Leandro Paparelli, do you believe that Q is legit? I've heard a lot about this Q. Some people wonder if it's one person or several, but I try not to look. I think it's just a more distraction, to be honest. I try to focus on the markets now, on what things are doing. I think politics is just a distraction, unfortunately. Um, Thanks, Patrick. Uh, Lally Flawless, most likely controlled by Rothschilds, like most of the banks. Yeah, I've heard stories. I remember when I worked for ABN AMRO Bank. My boss on the futures desk, he had a big client, a big hedge fund. A guy used to work for another Swiss bank before, opened his hedge fund, became really big. And I used to hear from my client, because we were kind of friends, and he said, "Oh, so and so went to Frankfurt yesterday to see the ECB," and I said, "Oh, really?" And I thought, wow, the ECB, meeting with hedge funds, and now you can understand. And this was about the time of after the around the time after the '08 crisis. So you could see that the ECB is trying to push hedge funds to do certain things, and how they do it is like they push them to buy derivatives that helps bring interest rates down. So yeah, they're all connected. Carlos, hi Carlos, you're welcome. Thanks for the donation. Nice to see you here, Carlos. Uh, Culture Horse, greetings, old chap. All the best. Thank you, Culture Horse. Let's see. Patrick, come on, everyone, get behind Mario's super chat. Just getting back into golf. Thank you. Thanks to you. Oh, really? Well, yeah. I mean, uh, I think it's good to have a hobby and something you like, because I like, watching the markets almost all day, but you need to get out there, do some golf, or the gardening. My wife loves gardening and I help her. So, yeah, life is not just watching screens. So, if you play golf or whatever, if you like running or cycling, don't forget those things. Um, David BB, will Brexit happen after Italy? Well, Brexit has been really, and they're really trying to water it down. GRE68, you work for ABN AMRO? No, I used to work for ABN AMRO. I worked for ABN AMRO, the futures department for it was about 8 years until 2003, I think, 95 to 2003. Um, Clown, let's see. Jeff Lowe, gold and silver are God's money. Yeah, I mean, whatever you think God is, or it is something from the earth, gold, and it is special. Marcus Yeagle, Tiger wins at Jack's Place this week. Yeah, Tiger, I think he's won about 5 of the Memorial tournaments. Some of you might be bored if I talk about this. Tiger has been playing fairly well this year, on this comeback, and he's always played well at Muirfield Village. It would be nice to see him win again. Clown with Twitter account. The gold is collapsing. You can't acknowledge that. The gold is collapsing. Oh, is it? I didn't realize that. Let's see. Where's gold? 1301. So no, yeah, gold has been around for 5,000 years. Clown. I guess it's a clownish view. Let's see. Richard McCorkindale. No, Clown. I can't, because that's nonsense. Yeah. Well, we can let Clown have his views. I'm not gonna ban him or anything. Randall Davis, are the protests at 10 Downing Street over TR becoming a big deal? No, I don't think so, Randall Davis. I recommend people watch Richie Allen on YouTube, and he talks about Tommy Robinson and the truth behind this guy. Yeah, I heard there's a Bilderberg in Italy in June. So, and someone actually made a comment earlier today in one of my videos saying, "Do you think what's happening in Italy is Bilderberg trying to blackmail Italy?" It could be. These people have a lot of power. Timmy Chonga, I think Theresa May was brought in to prevent Brexit. No talk, no movement, no discussion, no Brexit. I tend to agree with you, Timmy Chonga, because she wasn't even because even on the run up to Brexit, she was a Remainer. So it was weird that they brought, she came in as prime minister. So let's see here. Robert Martin, wasn't there something about the U.S. making gold filled with tungsten, and they now drill bars to test? Yeah, I mean, it's not the U.S., but I think in China they had some tungsten injected into gold bars. Yeah, you need to be careful. That's why you need to use reputable dealers that been in business for a long time. Tungsten has the same kind of density as gold, and that's why they used it. But it costs like a fraction of the price. So yeah. Tom 2806. What do you think of buying gold ETCs or stocks of gold mining companies instead of buying physical gold? Uh, as speculation, I don't know. ETCs, are they like trusts? Gold mining companies are speculation on the price of gold. It's leveraged, and there's more factors you have to, consider: the company, the management. But for ultimate insurance and ultimate way to protect your wealth, I would say it's physical gold. But if you already have some physical gold and you want to like buy into something riskier, yeah, go ahead. What a shambles. Did you see TD indicators in your old job, Mario? TD. What's TD shambles? What's that stand for? Lionhead, thanks for the donation. Lionhead asks, how safe do you think is the Canadian dollar compared to the euro versus dollar? Well, probably, depends. If you are Canadian, stick to the Canadian dollar. But if you're in Europe, I mean, I'd rather have some gold instead of Canadian dollar. But it could be something, a currency to have, especially if commodities start going back up. The Canadian dollar could be a good way to play that. Let's see. Clown with account. Mario, the gold doesn't worth 1,300 for me. Gold doesn't pay interest. And you can go ask Warren Buffett, most successful investor in the world. If you dislike him, that's your business. Clown with a Twitter account, the Swiss franc is actually now, when you lend money to the government in Swiss franc, you're paying them interest because interests are negative. And if you look at the US Treasuries, they're yielding 2% at the most. Inflation is like 2%. You might get interest, but real interest is zero. Gold doesn't pay interest because it's money, clown. Uh, and the only way that you can get interest with money is to lend it. So if you hold on to fiat paper dollars, that doesn't pay interest either. Let's see here. Domingo, hey Mario, should we not be saving any fiat? Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have some fiat, but not too much, in my opinion. I would rather, the thing is, if you think you might need fiat as an emergency, keep some. But if you're able to save enough fiat that you're comfortable with that, then you start saving physical gold and silver, because you don't really want to sell your physical gold and silver if you can. It's more of a long-term thing. Peter Tenaglia, do you think there's going to be a worldwide economic collapse, and is it planned? Yeah, probably planned, Peter. I think it is. They make it seem that it's unexpected or a black swan. When it's going to be, I don't know. The other thing I like to say, I might have missed some of your questions. Thing is, there's a lot of people here, and I'm trying my best just to read as many as I can. I'm sorry if I haven't read someone's questions, and it's not on purpose. Jessel, Canadian dollar is one step away from being a mess. Large debts and socialist spending attitudes. That's true. Sam B replied to clown. Gold is money, not supposed to pay interest. That's right. That's what I told him. Leland Wilkins, do you prefer silver or gold at current prices? Seems to me that silver will rally with gold and has a higher beta. Yeah, of course it will. I mean, that ratio is quite high still, gold silver ratio. So yeah, I mean, if you were going to put some money into precious metals, maybe put a more weighting into silver, but also don't buy gold as well. Quality FIFA gamer. Monaco, don't listen to Richard. He's a tit. Richard McCorkin, no, you're okay. Let's see. FlowNet07, Trudeau has nothing to do with selling Canada's gold. It was done by the fools at the Bank of Canada. That's true. Bullish. Buffett offered to make $3 billion investment in Uber. He'll be dead before they turn a profit. Jane Reynolds, gold is wealth preserver. That's right, Jane. It's not an investment. It's money. It's the best way to save money. If you want to invest, that's a different thing. Fin Barriers 777. What percentage of your portfolio do you recommend to put into crypto, and which ones are best? Fin Barriers, I mean, that's up to you. You know, what percentage? I guess if you really believe in it, you'd put more. If not, you know, you need to do your homework. And I can't tell you, you know, what's the best thing, you know, what the best cryptos are. My favorite is EOS, like Yvonne Nutter has said. I also like the Theta token. Theta token is supposed to be like a disruptor of I think you know, it's trying to be like the Uber for, how can I say, for streaming. They're trying to decentralize streaming to make it easier for people to watch videos. And one of the guys involved in the project was one of the founders of YouTube. Theta token, EOS. I like those, but that's just my opinion. Michael Holiday, thank you for the donation. What is your silver sales price when you offload? What are you rolling it into? Well, I'm not, you know, I've held my silver for years. And I guess if I was going to sell it, it would be in pounds because that's where I live. You know, and hopefully I try to get the best price possible. I'd look around for the different dealers, because not all of them had the same, you know, bid price or offer price. Murray Krause, EOS, BitShares grading, and an alternative ecosystem. I agree. I mean, and Steam it as well was part of the. Someone's saying EOS, it's a scam. Yeah, a lot of people think it's a scam. That's their opinion. I personally don't. I think it will be. It has the potential to be really successful, and actually use the word potential. It's speculative. I think it's a good speculation. Let's have a look here. A thinks Neo will rule. Yeah, well, that's why there's a market. There's buyers and sellers. Sash Media, are you purchasing gold at current spot? The last time I purchased gold was a few years ago when I sold my old house and bought this one. Sometimes I buy silver, but at the moment, no, I'm holding on to my gold. I'm not adding on to it. Not because I don't think it's going to go higher, just because of circumstances. And I have, you know, as much as, you know, I have a proportion that I'm happy with. DM, thank you for the donation. How to profit from coming crash? Open short positions? I don't think so, because if you're going to have short positions, you're going to have it with the brokers. The brokers are going to have accounts with the banks, and you're going to have counterparty risk. Watch the movie The Big Short, DM, and the only reason why these people made a lot of money in The Big Short, even though they had the right positions for what happened, was that the system was bailed out. If the system hadn't been bailed out, even though on paper they made a lot of profits, all the counterparties that wrote, the trades for them, they all would have gone bust. So the best way to profit from a coming crash, DM, in my opinion, is to have cash, maybe at home, physical cash, or in a safety deposit box, preferably not with a bank, to have physical gold and silver, and even some cryptocurrencies because they're outside the system. So having cash is like being short in a crash. I would stay away from going short. You might want to look into some ETFs, but the ETFs, a lot of times they're written by the financial institutions. Excuse me. Graylin, cash is garbage. Yeah, I agree, Graylin, but what I'm trying to say is keep some cash as well. Yeah, it is garbage, but it's a way to be short. If the stock market drops from 25,000 to 5,000 and you've got cash, it's almost like being short. You can buy the Dow now for 5,000. What I'm trying to say, if you try to be cute and go short or do, derivatives, you might end up losing that money because their counterparty might go bust because it could be a big crisis. Let's see, I've been here an hour and 1 minute. I'll look at a few more questions. Let's see. Graylin, I agree. I just don't leave it all in cash. You're 100% correct. Yeah, that's what I mean, Graylin. Not just a little bit, right? Chung Chen, what happens to precious metals when we can space mine? I actually, I don't think we can't even go back to the moon, Chung Chen. We're supposedly went to the moon in 1969 and in the early 70s, but for 50 years we haven't gone back. So I'm not concerned about that. Golden rewards. So 92.50 silver coins are key to holding cash. Well, that's sterling silver. Well, that's technically silver and gold coins are cash. But nowadays we call the paper money cash. But yeah, I think you should have some paper money cash as just not that much, but yeah, gold and silver. Over here, are you also numismatic coin collector? Many stackers or anti-coin collector? I do have some numismatic coins, and I'm not a specialist, but sometimes I have bought in the past some coins that I like, but it's a very small proportion of the coins I have. Patrick, thank you for your insights. You're welcome, Patrick. Let's see. 2 Manolo 3. I have some silver coins, small and big, for that occasion. Sash Media, keep 2 months of cash reserves, spend 10% income on precious metals. Yeah, that's a good idea. Eki Rash, grazie Mario. Yo, you're welcome. So yeah, I think I've covered quite a bit. I think I've answered quite a few questions, and yeah, I've been here for over an hour now. I'm gonna call it a day. So it's past 10 o'clock here in London. I'd like to thank everyone who participated, and I will let people know through my videos when my next live stream is going to be. Try to space them out. I don't want to do them every day. I think it dilutes too much supply and demand, right? You can't do that. So yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for watching and for all the contributions through Super Chat. And have a great rest of the day. And I'll talk to you in my next video. Take care. Goodbye.